So I don't know if you noticed, but silver and gold took a huge jump today. Well, yesterday I should say. Both of them moved up about 3%. Gold was up like 32.98, something like that, so 33 bucks. Silver, on the other hand, was up 40 something cents, another 3% on that. Bitcoin, however, has not gone back over the 408 yet. However, early this morning, so today's Saturday, we saw, I think, 382 bucks. At least I did at one point. I'm not sure if it had hit a higher level than that, but again, it's creeping back up there. And I got like an eyelash, I can see it. So anyways, it's creeping back up, and I don't think, as much as the webbot said, look towards the very last part of November for a jump in gold and silver prices. I'm here to tell you that, yeah, 3% move on gold and silver in a single trading day is a really good move. But I do not, under any circumstances, think that that's what the webbot was talking about as far as a big move jumping, in gold and silver. Now, it is interesting that it does say end of November. We got to see that, and I understand we're just in the very beginning of December, but the webbot's not perfect anyways, as I've always said. Sometimes it gets the dates and times wrong. But again, well, first of all, let me back up. Have you seen a 3% move upward in silver that quick in one day in recent times? No. So that in itself is interesting, but it's still not what I believe the forecast for the webbot is. And if you saw my summary of the webbot report for December, it talks about, the price of silver and stuff coming down and whatnot later on next year, but he actually emailed me, Cliff emailed me, was kind of, and I can still see the stupid eyelashes are so bothering me right now. I just can't get it. Like, see it poking, like the blurriness peripheral of my eye, I can see it. But he said we should see new highs first before we start to see that little drop back, and then of course even much higher highs. But when I talked about that part in the webbot of it coming down a bit, it would already be at new highs at that point. And when I say new highs, I don't necessarily mean we broke $50 an ounce record at 60 or 70 bucks. It comes down to 40 or 50 or something. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from where it's been right now, silver should be notably higher by this time frame it's talking about next year. So spring of next year, March, April is what it said, I believe, where we see this pullback and then it goes back up again even higher. And he said we should see it should be notably higher than it is now when this happens, is essentially what he was telling me. So it's interesting, man. I saw that jump yesterday out of nowhere. Oh, it was Mario Draghi of the European Central Bank president. His nonsense about more QE coming and all that. Now the other thing, which that's just nonsense anyways, but the other thing is that the non-farm payroll or the job, whatever numbers just came out, they were great. Markets rebounded on them. Oh, lovely. Which is doing what? Setting up the Fed in another week and a half, 2 weeks, to say, well, it is time after all to hike them rates. And remember what the webbot said prior to the last one I just read. The previous webbot or two said, in December, the Fed's going to make a very bad decision. And as the markets don't like it, from that point forward, things start to unravel, it's going to be looked back upon as, yeah, that damn Fed made a bad decision. Now, the interesting thing is that the latest webbot report, which I just read a few days ago, day ago, basically, I said it, but the webbot really said it. I'm just repeating it. That, what was I going to go with that? I just forgot. Do you hate that? You're on it, and then boom, it's gone. Boom. See you out of here. I'm lost. I'll have to. I can't stop the video, replay what I was saying and left off to, because then I'll go, oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. But I'm trying to think. The latest web bot. I guess that's why I can't even concentrate. There's morons everywhere around you. Morons, zombies. About to crash, trying to avoid these morons, flying across 4 lanes of traffic, stopped in a lane that you're not supposed to be stopped at right in front of me, But Webbot said, okay, I think I know what I was going to say now. Regarding this decision that the Fed's going to be making, it said essentially it would be like this. If the Fed doesn't raise interest rates, it'll ultimately look back upon and say that was a bad decision, and not too far out in the future to be looked back on. If they do raise interest rates, and I'm here to tell you, I think they're going to. I've said that the last few times I've talked about this. I think they are going to raise the rates. I know that the other people, even like Peter Schiff, they can't. They won't do it. It's QE. It's QE. It's QE. More QE. And he might be right. I may be wrong. But if the club wants to start knocking the markets down, they have to raise the interest rates. Because Lindsey Williams even said they used the interbank lending rate. They did a little test back in 2013. I found exactly the date they did it. That Friday, Monday, yep, sure enough, they switched it back. Everything was fine. China lost $1 billion over the weekend because of it. They said that was our little test. It worked. We're happy. But don't worry, it'll be back to normal on Monday. And it was. So, Webbot's saying it doesn't matter what the decision they do, it's going to be looked back on as causing the problem that comes in the financial markets, one way or the other. I do believe that guys like Peter Schiff will get this one wrong, not because his thinking's wrong, because his thinking's right, but because when the club says it's time, the club says it's time. And if they want to knock the markets down and they need a reason, they got a reason. They'll create the reason. That'll be the Federal Reserve making some decision. And again, what if we come to the day they got, in the middle of December, time to hike rates, or the final, speech, are we doing it or not? And they say, oh, we're actually going to lower rates, or we're going to do more QE. Actually, we're not going to do anything. Just whatever the decision is they make in December, according to Webbot, is going to be looked back on as a bad decision. And it will be a very good decision if you have gold and silver based upon their bad decision. And speaking of gold and silver, now the government of India, right? They tried. Remember, I did a video not too long ago about them asking the citizens to turn their gold in and store it with the government and the banks and this and that. And I was like, what is this? Pretty much nobody signed up for that program. I just found out in India, they pretty much said that no, we like our gold. So now the government's trying to go after temples. Temples, you guys have lots of bullion and jewelry, gold, etc. And we would like you to store that with us as well. So they're trying at the people, let's go to the temples. No one wants to give up the gold. Why does the government of India want gold so bad right now? Because if you're a member of these governments of the world, you're the top of the governments, and there's a big crash coming, and you also know the paper dollar systems of the world are going away, and the new one that's going to be replacing them is going to be backed by gold and silver. Well, that would mean you need to have as much gold and silver in your country's coffers as possible, so that when all the revalued dollars or whatever happens, or the new dollars that come out, whatever it is, everything's revalued, it's going to be based upon the assets you have as a country. Assets being how much precious metals you guys got. So rather than the government say, well, hey, here's why we want to do it, and if it's in your personal possession, it doesn't count. It has to be in the country's possession, government's possession, for it to count. We need your gold. So, right, they're not going to say that. So, I have a feeling we're not too far away from these events taking place. Again, the IRA, Obama's IRA accounts just got activated about 3 weeks ago. You can now invest them, and they or you put your money in them, and they are invested in 100% government treasury bonds. Nothing else but bonds. So as I said, guess who, and I said this even in a video a year ago when I first talked about this, guess who's going to buy the U.S. debt? You. And they'll probably start off with government retired pension plans. We're going to move those out and put them into these MIRAs to keep them safe. And then it'll start next after that. Well, any government employed currently, yours is now going to go into these pensions where we're now putting them into this because they do bear interest. And you're going to see turmoil in the stock market that you say, well, that's better than leaving the stock market. I'll go ahead and take that. So essentially, you're going to be financing the debt. But those of us with gold and silver won't be financing anything but our own fat pockets when that day comes. Take care.